Please welcome Brianna.
Thanks, dude. Good morning. Oh, scared myself. Wow, you guys said it back. I had a joke prepared to prompt you to say it back, but we'll just talk then. Okay. Yeah, the theme for the festival, well, I'm Brianna. Nice to meet you guys. The theme for the festival, as we all know, is the future is now. So I'm going to start by imagining the future. Smitty, next slide, please. Oh, that feels cool. Next slide, please. Awesome. Yeah, this one. So when I think the future is now, when I first heard it, this is kind of how I thought, we're all going to be in these super sleek metal white rooms, and everything's going to be electronic, and you're going to wake up and a robot's going to be giving you breakfast, right? So I've seen too many movies, basically. And then I thought, okay, well, why am I thinking this way? Why is that my first thought to go to this futuristic movie scene that's not rooted in reality? And thinking about what actually creates the future is why I came up with the topic of my presentation today, which is Space Makers, Change Makers. Because if the decisions that we are making now are actively determining the future, then how do we begin to make more informed and intentional decisions so that we are actually making the future that we want to see? You know, not some fantasy, not some la-la land, not dreaming, but bringing it back home, taking self-responsibility, right, being active participants in how the world is being shaped around us. You know, the future is now. So how do we create the spaces to nurture what we want to see more of tomorrow? That's what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to share 3 things that I think I've learned exploring this topic as an artist and as an activist, working with communities and diverse communities on so many different topics, on how do you want to better your neighborhood, on how do you want to connect with your neighbors, how do you want to further your professional development, your future, you know, your livelihood, what do you want to do with your life? These are the questions that I was supporting people in answering at my job at the Center for Neighborhoods. And I learned these 3 things. The first thing that you got to do, Smitty, next slide, please. That's me, 3 times. How many Briannas does it take to make a point? 4. Okay, so that's me. The first thing is to open up to new experiences and to growth and exploration, right? Growth doesn't happen in a vacuum. Even in nature, if you look at something growing, it's surrounded by all of these things happening at once. We have to tap into the things going on around us, for better or for worse, for interest or disinterest. We have to be open to all of these things and experiences so that we can learn and be challenged. So that's me in Palestine. The second one is, what do you like? What do you get excited about? You know, what feels natural? When you're in a team, what do you want to do immediately? Do you want to organize? Do you want to be the creative person? Do you want to support everybody else's ideas because you really like being that team player that puts the pieces together? So figuring out what that is, and maybe you're good at it already, maybe you're not, you need a little work, but just staying true to yourself in that. That's 2. That's me. That's art. That's what I like. And then 3 is sharing that with others. So that's me at a community event, sharing my love for art and community to support a community in discussing and showing accurate, I feel like I'm saying that funny, representations of who they are, their identities. So that's where the magic happens, where you take being open to experiences, to learning, to growth. You take what you feel good at, what you feel like is your treasure or your gift, and then you decide that you're going to connect with other people that you're going to let other people come in and you're going to exchange that. Because people need purpose. You got my back. People need purpose, and they need to feel appreciated for the things that they give and the things that they gift, right? That's how society works. That's how a community works. So making that space for ourselves and each other is really important. So I do this, like I said, with art, and I'm going to show you some examples of some projects that I've done. Next slide, please. So the first one is Unfold. And Unfold I did when I was a college student on campus. It was a really small campus, but no one talked to each other. It was very surface level conversations, very cliquish. People were very divided. And that goes against everything that I've said to you already, right? Of not being open to experiencing and learning and growing and sharing and receiving. So I made this work where I went and I asked 100 strangers what their biggest strength and their biggest weakness was. So people were able to look at someone maybe that they had seen on campus every day but never talked to for whatever reason and get an introduction to them and make that decision to walk up and unfold that image to learn something about someone else. So that was my way of making space for those connections to start to be made. Next slide, please. And then I graduated, and it wasn't just my small campus world anymore. It was a bigger conversation. And the politics of everything that was going on, I was in AmeriCorps at the time, so I was working kind of as a federal service worker. And I was in tune with the news and everything that was going on and realizing that people's identities were being politicized. They were being taken to help someone else make a point, to carry out an agenda, and that bothered me because having a lot of friends or just being in a community that I saw people all the time that actually were living out these identities, but they didn't have a voice in how they were represented, was frustrating for me. So I made this work, never thinking that it would be seen, actually, called The Divided States of Americans. And on one side, it says, "They say," which is what politics says about who I am, even though it's not really true, or nuanced, or specific, or taking into account that there is diversity in any type of identity, right? Whether it's race, sexuality, gender, etc. Like, there's diversity in all of that. You can't just decide this is what someone is, which is why exploration is important. So on the other side, I invited people to take back their identities, and it says, "I am." So they say versus I am. And that's the Divided States of Americans. So that covered a lot of different intersecting identities, and that was really powerful for me, and I think the people that participated. Next slide, please. And then this is Oasis. This is an installation that I did for the Festival of Faiths in Louisville, and I did a talk similar to this one. And I decided at that point that, the politics were really exhausting and the work was really exhausting. By then I had been a graduated, working, person and tired, going to work, going home, going to work, going home. And I was like, where's the time to really connect with ourselves, right? To really process how we're feeling, what we're thinking, not in a way that it's like, this is for work, or this is for school, or this is for my errand that I have to run, or this is because my friend wanted me to, but like, at the end of the day, how am I feeling? How am I doing? What am I thinking? Over 300 people submitted their wisdom about speaking to their softness, about what they learned when they became vulnerable to it, and that was put in this installation for people to come and read and process and just kind of gift each other that really intimate confession of how it feels to be human right now, and reflecting on that on the wisdom of that, right, of connecting to ourselves. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm not the only one that does this, right? And there are so many ways to do this, and not just art. So these are some pages that I follow on Instagram. Hey. The Unapologetically Brown series. So this is someone who had a lot of writing. They were writing a lot, and they had some things to say, and they were going to post it on the internet as like spoken word, but then realized that it wasn't actually getting into the spaces that they felt like it needed to get into. So she started putting them on the street as posters, just putting posters up, on the side of a box at a crosswalk or on a wall, as people were walking past, to really start these conversations in public space, to interrupt the habits that we get into, the habits that make it really hard for us to make these deeper connections. So interrupting that a little bit. And then the Free Black Women's Library. So having a space, this person wanted to create a space where Black women could come together and talk about what it was like basically to be Black women and reading books by Black women, right? If we look in the media, if we look in entertainment, if we look in all these different things, representation is not equal. And they were feeling the lack of their stories being told. So getting together and connecting with each other created something powerful and educational. And that's right, that's making a space that creates change. Space makers, change makers, hashtag. And then Layla Khoury, excuse my lack of an Arabic accent, is an artist that, actually I'm wearing a bolo tie she made, is an artist that is recreating artifacts from Syria because of the war that's going on in Syria and all of the destruction, taking these simple objects, really minimal, and sharing them here so that it's just a comment on like what is lost and can't be recovered, and how does that make us feel? What does that do? Like the significance of that, the weight of that, right? So creating these spaces in different ways with posters, with reading circles, with art, with anything, like I said, whatever you're interested in. So next slide, please. How am I doing, guys? All right, so I brought an installation here today that's called Thread House, and you guys are going to participate in it, actually. So similar to what I did at the Festival of Faiths, you guys are going to write a question or an idea about something that you wish there was more space for on a card. And then I'm going to put it into Thread House, and you'll be able to visit it and see what other people are saying. So this is covering the three bases that I talked about, right? One, connecting to yourself, giving yourself time to process and explore. Two, what you're good at, what you're interested in, right? And then three, putting it in a space to learn from each other and to grow with each other. So the rules are going to be to go in, grab a comment that you connect to, take it with you, take it home, and then exit the Thread House to actually act on that. Act on it. And you can post about it on the internet too, but the most important piece is to act on it. Experience is the best teacher. We know this. The things that we experience are the things that stay with us, that shape us, that form us, and we have so much power to shape and form each other's experiences. We do it every day, like with ease. Without even trying, we are shaping each other's experiences. You get on the bus, you tell a joke, everyone else laughs. You just shaped an experience for everyone on the bus, right? You come to class, you're in a bad mood. Like the energy that we give, the things that we say, the things that we don't say, are all affecting the people around us. So you're already making space. You're already using your space. So with that type of power, like I said, how can we be more intentional so that we are using our space in a way that shapes the future in ways that we want, in ways that we need, and in ways that other people need. Next slide, please. So that's what the card looks like, and I hope to see you guys over there. I'm going to run and finish it up. And yeah, so just take that power, own that power, be proud of it, be proud of what you have to offer, because no one offers it like you. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is so true, and it is shown every day with everything that you do. So, thank you.